Aloha mai kako. Aloha. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We'll just give it a minute here as people log on. And we'd love to know where you are zooming in from. Of course, if you're driving, no need to do that. But if you are at your computer and you can type it in the chat, we'd love to hear where you are zooming in from, where you're joining us from. Aloha Kepa. So go ahead and write in the chat where you are joining in from. Nice. I see we have Maui in the house. Welcome. We got Waianae, Kaneohe, Kailua, Eva. Just making our way around the island here. All right. So welcome to our information session for the ʻŌiwi Leadership Accelerator Cohort 3. I am Ku'ulani Keho Kalole, one of the co-founders of the program and one of the co-facilitators. And I am joined by Raquel Aki.
Aloha, everybody. So nice to see everybody online today.
Yes, and I'm also joined by Kepa Barrett.
Aloha mai kako. Great to see some awesome faces here.
Yes, thank you, Raquel and Kepa. I also see who just logged in is Jody Burgess. Jody, do you want to say hello?
Aloha. I was like, I just popping in to see what's up. Hi, Ku.
Hi,
Hello,
Jody.
everybody. Come apply. It's wonderful. That's all I'm gonna say.
Mahalo, Jody. Sorry to put you on the spot. So Raquel, Kepa, and Jody are all alumni from our first two cohorts of the program. And so they're here just to kako'o and to share what their experience has been like. Well, Raquel and Kepa are. Jody, we can put you on the spot later. But mahalo nui for joining us and being interested in our ʻŌiwi Leadership Accelerator program. So I'll just go ahead and get us started. You know, our program is really about grounding Hawaii leaders in our unique leadership identity. We truly believe that there is a Hawaii way of leading, and that those of us who grew up in this place and know this place, this is unique to us. And so we want to just pai or grow and strengthen that way of leading. So before I get into the content, I do want to just introduce what we're going to do here together. So really our hope in this next 50 minutes or so is to help you understand the program's intentions and our expectations, to learn about the impact that this experience can have on your leadership journey, get to have your questions answered and feel excited about applying. And for the, I'm sure you all know by now, but if you don't know, our deadline for cohort 3 is October 13th. So it's coming up soon. So let me go ahead and introduce who would be leading this journey or this team here. So you have myself, as well as Elena Fardin, who is also one of the co-founders and co-facilitators of the program. And then new to our team this year is Maile Alau, who is also going to be one of the co-facilitators for our sessions. Then we also have our coaching team that's led by Tiffany Chang. So Tiffany, Elena, and I are the three co-founders of the program. Then we also have Christy Valador, who in her daytime job works for Hawaii USA FCU. And then we have Jonathan Freitas, who is a coach and Kamehameha alumni, actually. So there's the six of us who will be really helping to facilitate this journey with all of you. And then Raquel is I mentioned, an alumni, but also going to be our program manager, helping to whip us into shape and keep everything nice and smooth and coordinated for our program. So that's who will be kind of helping to guide this program with all of you. So let me take a step back and talk about how this program got started, kind of what's the genesis of this program. So as many of you are very well aware, but for us, we saw the headlines coming out just in 2023 about the fact that more Hawaiians now live outside of Hawaii than in Hawaii. At the time, the statistic was 51%. And at this time, I think it's 55 or even higher. So we know that so many of us, not just Native Hawaiians, but Kama'aina who grew up here, who've been in Hawaii for generations, are just finding it too expensive to stay. And when we talk with organizations that we work with and leaders we work with, and we said, why is it that we see so many Hawaii people leaving? We know that one of the big pieces is that we don't have jobs that can pay us a wage that allows us to stay. And so when we asked, well, why is it that we don't have roles like that in Hawaii that allow us to stay? The response we would get is, well, sometimes Hawaii people, they don't raise their hand for opportunities, or they're not prepared, or they don't have the right experience or the right expertise, and on, all of these different reasons. And so for us, the question was, okay, well, how are we going to make that better? How are we going to change that? How do we create a pipeline of Hawaii grown leaders who are ready to take on leadership roles at Hawaii's organizations? And so that's kind of how this idea got born. And then we were blessed that just the timing and serendipity of everything is that Kamehameha Schools was also putting out a pilot grant funding program called Kaiaulu, which is really focused on helping to grow more ʻŌiwi leaders, not just on their campuses, but in community. And so Kamehameha Schools was the first partner that we partnered with to create this program. So we created the program at the end of 2023. We launched it in 2024. So Raquel and Jody were part of our first cohort. And at the time we put out a call, we said, hey, this is a pilot program. We want to see, who in Hawaii is interested in growing their leadership in a way that really honors our unique ancestry and heritage, and really uses culture, I shouldn't say uses, but sees culture as a vehicle for which we can learn more about ourselves as leaders and how we can best serve our organizations and our communities. And so that first time we put out the call, we had 40 people apply. And so we know that there's a demand for this and there's a desire for this. And so we took 20 people in our first cohort, and we actually went on an 8-month journey. Since then, we have cut it down to 6 months. We know that 8 months is a long time. We had I think 5 babies, Raquel, who were born or on their way by the end of that cohort. And so we've now condensed it down to 6 months. And all we did, we kept the content, but all we did was we had some virtual sessions. So all of our sessions are either place-based or led by a culture practitioner and are in person. We meet once a month. So 6 months, once a month. And then in between, we provide executive coaching, as you just saw, as well as peer learning partners. We have readings, we have things to really support you so that it truly does feel like a cohort learning journey together. And I know I'm talking a lot. If you have questions or things are coming up, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll make sure to answer and address those questions as we go. So I kind of started to touch on this, but there are some real key goals that we are trying to address in this program. The first is we know that there's lots of great talented people who are in Hawaii, either from Hawaii or came to Hawaii and made Hawaii their home, but we're really trying to elevate Hawaii's local talent. That's our #1 focus. And along with that is to increase our representation in decision-making and C-suite roles. So while there are many cultural leadership programs, there are many Aina-based programs, we're unapologetic that this program is really about trying to increase representation in the seats that make decisions that impact so many of us, right? So we are about organizational leadership in addition to all kinds of other ways that leadership shows up. We also work to infuse traditional and Western or global knowledge. So we understand that we have to straddle these, different places that we're all in. And so rather than saying, well, it's one or the other, we really try to bring both together. So you're going to see that the curriculum focuses both on our cultural identity and cultural practice, but it also looks at things like strategic planning and, facilitation. And then lastly, we want to illustrate and instill Hawaiian values in everything that we do. So even who is running the program, we ensure that, you know, we're all coming at this from our values-driven place as well. Okay, I'll keep moving through all my content here, but again, feel free to ask any questions. This slide here is already on the website, so I'm not going to reread this to you, but I just want to share that we do have outcomes that we measure throughout the program. And so we do have participants do a baseline, midpoint, and end survey, really to understand, you know, where are you growing? Where might you be challenged or struggling that we can help to support you? And ultimately, you know, we want to put out there that this is a wonderful program that is making impact in community. So it's not just about each individual's leadership journey, but also, you know, what we're doing together, the impact we're making together as a whole. I think I will go through a couple more slides, and then I do want to invite our alum to share their personal experiences. And I just want to stop hearing myself talk. Okay, actually, you know what? This might be a good chance because we're going to talk about impact and some of the results. And I'll just tee it up by saying that our alum have been just so amazing in what they have done after the program. What we have seen is that people feel more confident to raise their hands to apply for leadership roles. We see folks getting promotions. We see them going on to nonprofit boards. We see them really just showing up with more understanding of their kuleana and kulana. And so I can't rave enough about our alum. And now we have 40 alum of the program. So let me maybe open it up. I'll start with you, Raquel, if you're okay with it, just to share what has the impact been on you, what has been your experience. Just leave it kind of open-ended for you.
Yes, aloha. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share my experience. So when I first seen the application circulating, I was very excited about this opportunity because it specifically spoke to making sure place-based or Hawaii-centric values was a main character and not just sprinkled out the leadership curriculum in a performative way. And where I was in my position at my previous job was I managed between the board of governors and our C-suite, and so many opportunities were there for me to help influence conversations that gave back to Hawaii in a less extractive way. But I really needed the tools and the confidence to help me feel comfortable in those settings to actually jump into those conversations, what I can say and what would allow me to be heard in the most impactful way. And so that little gap of skills and confidence that I was missing, I just felt like in my na'au, it was there in this program. And so I gave it a chance. I met with my boss, who at the time was the president of our organization, and I really had to go in and advocate for myself and say, hey, I think if you give me the opportunity and support my participation in this, that it will make me a fuller, better contributor to the organization, and I can bring this back and it'll be beneficial to you in the long run. And so she did. She heard me out. She invested in my participation. And those 8 months, in addition to the community that I built, which I'm still very much a part of, and I love everybody to death, I was able to just get so much confidence out of it. I went back. I've had so many more impactful conversations with the board, with our executive leadership team, and I was able to not only influence policy, but also strategy. So it's having the confidence to go back to your organization and take the skills you learn from this program and apply them. And so, yeah, that's just served me, and that will perpetuate throughout any role that I have, like going forward. So I could go on and on and on about this program. And I just wish there was so many more seats for everybody to take it, because it's made such a big impact on who I am as a person and who I show up with professionally. So thank you.
Mahalo, Raquel. And I think one of the testaments to just how awesome Raquel is, and also I think the power of what she has experienced is her willingness to come back and give back as our program manager. I think that's what we count as a success factor, is the willingness and desire to give back and using your talents to help further the program. So mahalo nui, Raquel. Kepa, if I can invite you to share, and Kepa was in our second cohort that just graduated in June. What was your experience and the impact on you, Kepa?
Yeah, mahalo, mahalo nui ku'u for having me, and thank you, Raquel. Oh man, I wish I didn't have to go after you. That was great. Um, but for my experience, I really think that for the ʻŌiwi Leadership Accelerator program, the way I found out about it was actually from another Ola alum from the first cohort, my good friend Nalani Kaku. She was my coworker, and she said nothing but great things about it, and I know that she is still a really involved alum as well. And I think that that right there showcases how impactful it is that you actually have alumni coming back to even just give a few minutes of their time. Like literally, I'm running around and Ku'u sent an email last night and I was like, yeah, I got like 5 minutes in between running around to different stores right now. Yeah, I will stay in my car and share this story. So that's a good indicator of how well Ku'u, Tiffany, and Elena did a great job. And I'm sure after just this brief introduction with Raquel, she's going to be an amazing in addition to this team. My experience, I would say, especially in the time that I was actually applying for the program, I was in transitioning between my previous role at Kupu, a nonprofit that focuses on youth engagement, environmental conservation, workforce development in natural resources, and environmental sustainability. And now my current role is I'm a manager of sustainability and Aina-based learning at Kamehameha Schools, so the Kapalama campus. And I think what Ola was for me is it was just kind of this really important bridge between those two roles for me in my career because for a long time I was fine being in smaller nonprofit spaces, very much steeped in community. And when you think about Kamehameha, most people think about this behemoth of an organization. But when I started at Ola, it was this consistent network that I could plug into every month and just get perspective, right? I think a lot of times when most of us are just going about our day-to-day lives, we don't have people that we can bounce ideas off of, people that we can know are third party objective completely on the outside who could offer us some advice or some guidance whenever we're going through transitions. And especially for me, I think that going from a small nonprofit to this huge organization like KS, it was really helpful to have just 20 people that I knew I could lean on. And specifically, I'll talk about one portion of the program. I don't know if you guys are still going to do this, but it was a great part for me where I had a tandem partner in the program. And my tandem partner, his name was Landon Opunui. He was a doctor, right? And on top of him just being incredibly smart, I think it was helpful to have someone that was outside of my realm of work as well. Like neither of us would have either, in no other case in the workspace would someone in the medical fields and somebody in environmental, like malama aina education, interact. And we interacted every month, and I learned about his life, I learned about our life, and we realized that there was actually a lot of commonalities between us. And so I feel like that's really powerful, having synergy between people who are, local, grew up, and yeah, Landon's awesome, Napu Ubai. And so it's helpful, I think, to just hear from other people who are going through similar things that you might be going through to understand that whatever adversities or challenges that you're facing, it's actually a normal part of just working and living here in Hawaii. And that perspective, that normalization of struggle makes the struggle less difficult, if that makes sense. And so, yeah, I hope that adds some value. If there's other questions, sorry, I gotta go jet, but you guys have my email. If you guys need to talk story and have more specific questions later, I will definitely come back and add however much value I can. But yeah, love you, Ku'u, and hope you guys apply. It's worth it. The other thing too is I think I had to also advocate for myself, much like Raquel, in terms of, finding the funding for my participation in this. But to be honest, I'm so glad that I did. And I didn't look at the price tag. Okay, in hindsight, and I wish somebody had told me this. In hindsight, I shouldn't have looked at the cost. I should really understand the value of what it is that I participated in, if that makes sense. So focusing more on the value versus the cost.
Mhm.
And If no one's told you this, but you are worth your own investment and your own advocacy. So yeah, mahalo.
Mahalo nui kepa. We would have never known you were in your car.
All good. It's the good. It's the AirPods. Yeah. But love you guys. I'll talk to you guys soon. Yeah.
Mahalo.
Okay. Aloha.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kepa. Such great points about not only, of course, what's happens in the content and the, experience of the program, but also just the community you're in. Like he said, he would have never been paired with a medical doctor in his current work. And so one of the things we try to do is we match you with someone else in the program to be your kind of your buddy and your peer learning partner. And we don't do that based on industry or whatever. It's really kind of an interesting algorithm of how we think about who might you be able to learn from and vice versa, where we might see some synergies happening. And so I just love that he shared that and the whole point about advocating for what you're worth. So mahalo for that. So we just have a few quotes here from some other alumni who said, I've grown tremendously. I'm awaiting right now to hear if I made it into the first round of a leadership fellowship that I was nominated for. I was also asked to serve on a local government committee. I became more self-aware, knowing when I need grounding, realizing that my professional barriers are results of something more deep in my personal life. I found my footing as a leader in my community and CEO in my organization. I finally feel complete in my training and more confident in my decision making. So some truly wonderful quotes from folks who've gone through it. Now, we've talked a lot about kind of how this is not just a program where you go and maybe, some of these programs, they're great. You have speakers come in, talk to you about a topic, and that's kind of like the gist of it. But I think what makes Ola uniquely special is that we provide executive coaching. And for many, this is the first time you've ever experienced coaching. I'm curious if you can write in the chat if you have ever experienced coaching before. But sometimes people mix up coaching with like coaching for soccer or for football, where your athletic coach would tell you, hey, you need to do this better, you need to do this better. And really, our type of coaching is much more focused on being present for you and helping you navigate your own things that maybe limiting beliefs that might be holding you back, things that you might be realizing are kind of keeping you from making the impact that you want to have. And so it's really us kind of holding space and asking you questions and sometimes nudging you. Raquel, I don't know what you would say about coaching, or Jody, if you have any comments about your own coaching experience. But I know for some, it can be really, really powerful and kind of set you on a path that helps to support your leadership growth. So Jody, maybe if I can put you on the spot, is there anything you would say about coaching and its impact on you in the program?
It was probably one of my favorite things. And yeah, I would say I almost wish like we had more, but it's like job therapy almost, or like life, kind of therapy. And it's so nice to have somebody to talk things through with. And it can go anywhere, and you kind of get to help lead the conversation with whatever it is that you're needing at the time. Yeah, it was literally probably like my favorite thing about the whole cohort, I would say.
Thank you. Yeah, and I see Raquel saying coaching taught you how to pour more into yourself. Beautiful. Yeah, I'm a strong advocate. Whether you're in this program or not, I highly encourage any leader to invest in yourself with a coach. Okay, I'm gonna keep it moving here so we can get to the details and then also just invite your questions. So we are accepting applications right now for our third cohort, and the deadline is October 13th. So that's coming up in just 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's October already. Our selection committee is going to be made up of both our facilitation team as well as some of our alumni. So they'll get a chance to kind of weigh in on who they feel will make for a good mix. And just to be clear, you're all leaders, you're all amazing people. I'm sure I haven't even met all of you, but we really don't want this to feel like a process of sometimes you put yourself forward for these things and it's feels like you're being judged on whether you're worthy enough or valued enough. And that's really not our jam. That's not this program. This program is really focused on how do we take you from where you are to where you aspire to be. in community, right? And learning in a sense of community. Now, I will say some people maybe come into this thinking, well, I need to, I need to kind of, what's that next thing on my resume? And I want to get this because this will show people that I am blah, 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 right? And while yes, we do know that, being able to say that you're part of a cohort program is something exciting and it is an accolade that we want you to celebrate. We don't want people to be motivated by that, right? So we're really looking for people who, I think, like Raquel and Jody and Kepa have said, you're at a place where you know that you can grow, you know that you can strengthen yourself. You've already had some impact. You've already had, kuleana. Maybe you're facing some tough decisions, or you're working on addressing tough like problems in your work, but you can have even more impact. And so you're looking really to grow yourself, and you're ready to be in a space that can be transformative and nudge you and be really reflective. That's who we're looking for. And then, of course, also looking for that right mix. So I mentioned that our cohorts in the past were 20 people each. And while it was amazing, when 40 people would apply, it'd be amazing to take half. We have found, and I think the research shows that a size more like 12 to 15 is actually way more more intimate, where people can really get to know each other over 6 months. So this time we're actually narrowing it down to 15 spots. And so just want to kind of share what the size of the cohort would be. And then what we try to do is not take anybody from the same organization, because we want people to feel that sense of psychological safety, like Raquel said, where you can, say, hey, my boss is driving me crazy. How do I, we'll cut that from the recording, but, these are things that are going on in my organization, can anybody give me advice? And so we want it to feel like a safe place where you get to learn across industry and cross organizations. And then, so we're going to apply October 13th. One thing we're adding this year is interviews. They're only 30-minute interviews, but we want a chance to get to know you. We've, now with the rise of ChatGPT, it's wonderful to meet ChatGPT in some people's applications. We want to hear from you. We don't want to hear from ChatGPT. And then we also want to get to know you, get to sense your ano and what you will bring to the cohort. So we will we'll invite you for 30-minute interviews in October, and then we will be notifying you by, I'm just moving my screen here. We want to notify you right around Halloween timeframe, so that you have quite a bit of time to, talk to your employer to get the kind of payment tuition lined up, and just makau yourself, because we kick off in January. All right. Okay, I think this will be my almost last slide, if not last slide, to share, is talking about tuition. So as Kepa mentioned, it is an investment. And one of the things that I'll just share I'm trying to work on is actually potentially turning ʻŌiwi Leadership Accelerator into a nonprofit organization where we can seek grant funding, and help. We want to reduce as many barriers as we can. But in the meantime, it is a program that's run out of my business, People Strategies. And so every cost is a cost: food, venues, programs, speakers, all the things. And so our program cost is $4,400 for the 6 months. I like to tell people, when you go to a conference on the continent and you spend a couple of nights in a hotel and you flight and meals and all of that, like this more than makes up for what that kind of thing costs. So we highly encourage you to talk to your employers. You can talk to them now, say, hey, I'm interested in applying for this. If you need a letter of support or a letter, kind of explaining what the program is, we're more than happy to do that to help. And we can even have past employers talk to your employer and say why they invested. So we have about 70% of employers that tend to either pay full for their employees or subsidize. So they'll pay a portion and then participants pay the other portion. If you pay on your own, we can cut it up into payment plans. And so we're so willing to work with you if that is your situation. Okay, I lied. I think I have one more slide. So scholarships. So we want to, again, make sure that we're reducing barriers as much as we can. And so we are offering scholarships. So we do have 7 scholarships to give this year. And that's really because we've been able to kind of invite people and companies from our community to donate towards the program. So there will be 5 people who can apply to get half their tuition discounted. And then 2 people will get majority of their tuition discounted, and you'll pay $1,100 for the program. So that scholarship application is within the program application. So please feel free to fill that out if that's something that you need to or want to pursue. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing screen. I think I talked enough at you. And now I'd like to just invite questions, mana'o from all of you. Yeah, what questions do you have? Write it in the chat or say it out loud. Great.
Aloha.
Aloha.
This is Tiare from Maui. Hi, everyone. Aloha kako. I just had a question. So those from neighbor islands, do we fly over? And let's just say if we get accepted into the program, do we fly over, or is it like a virtual thing, or is it a hybrid kind of ordeal?
Yeah, so we definitely fly over.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we provide neighbor islanders a stipend. So in the first cohort, we organized flights and transportation, and then we were turning into a mini travel agency. And so we decided, you know what, you folks are empowered, you book your own flights. And like typically what happens is each cohort, I think we've had about 5 neighbor island people. And so typically they start to, message each other. We have a WhatsApp thread going, and they'll say, okay, who's landing at what time? And then usually just carpool to and from our sites in the airport. But we do provide a stipend for our neighbor island folks of $1,500, and that's to cover all of your flights and ground transportation. So you're just given it as a lump sum, and then you use it as you need to go back and forth.
Mahalo nui for answering that. And I do agree with you on coaching, as it's such a great investment for leaders. So I
Yes.
agree.
Yeah, mahalo.
Mahalo.
We have a question from Jordana in the chat. She's asking, what is the general monthly time commitment?
That's a great question. So our sessions are all day sessions. So just plan on, and the dates are on the website. Plan to just book that whole day. We ask people not to come late or leave early. As you folks know, I mean, when you're on Aina or you're engrossed in these experiences, it just takes something away when people are kind of coming in and out of it. So what we do is we allow for 1 absence during the program. It cannot be your first or last session. So first and last session are mandatory, because again, that helps to set the container for the whole program. But within those second, third, fourth, fifth sessions, if you need to miss, you're allowed to miss 1. And that could be for anything. It could be, I need to do something at work, or I'm sick that day, or whatever it might be. But we consider, if you're going to have to leave a session early or come late, that's considered an absence. So we really stress, it's only 6 sessions. We stress people really committing to the full day. And then in between that, Jordana, so you have the coaching, which you schedule with your coach. So that, but those are 4 45 to 60-minute sessions that happen in between the 6 months. And then you also meet with your peer learning partner in between. But again, those you folks mutually schedule. And then there is some pre-work and some homework in between. Oh, thank you. Gianna, can you actually just put that out to everybody in the chat? And then you also have your pre-work and some pre-work and homework. So I would say, to estimate, you figure a day is eight hours. and then the peer learning, the coaching, and the pre-work. I would imagine it's like 15 to 20 hours a month. Raquel, would you kind of agree to that?
Yes, and it may sound like you have to carve this time out, but once you get through the first session, you're actually going to look forward to this every month. It's going to be actually a break or a reprieve from everything that's going on. And then you also get focused on like, this is what's happening with me currently, professionally or personally, and I'm going to save this for my discussion with my coach and see what comes up out of it and how I can alchemize this into a solution or a positive movement. So yeah. And I have, just to tag onto that, I have 3 kids. And so I know a lot of us, some of us are makua, and I was able to not only fit this in, but like this was my break from that as well. Like I could be an adult, my brain could breathe and I could talk about myself for once. So yeah, the time commitment is not going to be an issue once things get rolling.
Thank you, Raquel. Great
Thank
question.
you. I appreciate the responses.
Yeah, great question. What other questions are coming up for folks? All right. Well, Gianna, if you could write our email address in the chat. So if anything comes up, if you have any other questions, please feel free to email us and you can ask us. We'll do our best to get back to you as quickly as possible. Yeah, please spread the word if there's other people you know, or maybe you're like, no, I don't want people to compete with me to get in. But no, I really mahalo all of you for your interest. And what this shows to me is that you're really willing to invest and you have a desire and an investment in yourself. And just I want to commend you for that because with everything we're all juggling, you know, it's wonderful that you're considering investing in yourself in this way. And I think as Raquel said, what you will find hopefully is after the 6 months, it's a transformative experience, right? You get out of it what you put into it. So thank you so much for making the time to be here. That's all the content I have to share. So we'll hang back if anybody has any other questions. Gianna, could you go ahead and write the email address if folks have questions after this? And then we can also send out the recording if folks want to rewatch afterwards. But that's it for us, and mahalo nui. And so we hope to see all of your applications in by October 13th.